Hello, I'm Jesse Richard, founder and editor of TVNewsLies.org and host of the TV News Lies radio program on the Monks Media Radio Network. Before I start, I'd like to make a little disclaimer here. Everything that I'm saying right now and everything that I'm talking about, I can elaborate on. For the sake of keeping this short and to the point, I'm not going to go into details about many things, but I will offer myself to speak on the topics, whether it's on a radio show, a television show, or a public forum. So please, before you start saying certain things that are unsubstantiated, please keep in mind this is going to be a very short video just to wake people up and to get them thirsty for knowledge. Now, the press in this country is the only job in the entire nation that is protected by the U.S. Constitution. Firemen, police, politicians, clergy, nobody else is really protected by the Constitution. No job is, except for the press. And that is because it is the job of the press, as seen by the founders and the framers of the Constitution, to protect that Constitution. The job of a free press in a free society is to tattle on our leaders. Because at the end of the day, government is comprised of human beings, and human beings are fallible, and they are susceptible to greed, and they're susceptible to the desire to gain an ever-increasing power. So a press is there to protect the people and let the people know what our government, or the people in our government, are up to. When you hear that a press isn't supposed to report things because of reasons of national security, that's code speak. Yes, it's national security, but that's a false impression. What they mean by national security is they're securing those people in charge from the nation. Not keeping the nation secure, but they're securing themselves from the eyes of the nation. Think about that when you hear the term national security and it doesn't make sense. Why would they want to keep certain things secret? Now, the definition of a lie is very simple. At the end of the day, the bottom line definition of a lie is to leave a false impression with the public. That is the job of the media. The media right now, the establishment media, or what you call the mainstream media, and you will realize as you start opening your eyes that they are far from mainstream. But their job is to create and maintain a false impression. They are protecting the ruling elite from the people in that they don't let the people know what the ruling elite is up to. Now, it sounds a little conspiratorial. It is. It's also obvious. Stay with me. By the end of this, you'll be able to see it for yourself. Now, we have been led down this false path in this country by pseudo, or should I say, fake gatekeeper media watchdog organizations like FAIR and Media Matters. And that false path is that path to belief that the problem with our media is bias. Now, bias is always a problem with news. News is the reporting of information, or journalism is the reporting of information without bias or opinion. So clearly, journalists should be as anonymous as a paperboy, dropping information on your doorstep, walking away. We should never even know how they feel about it. But it is not the main problem with our media, as you will see. Here's how media deception works in a nutshell. News gets reported, and very important aspects of news get reported. Things that would shock you, that would, if you were aware of these things, you would drastically believe alter your belief or common perception of major events of the world. Ranging from the belief that we don't have the technology to make cars that run on things other than gas, or that the events of 9/11 took place as told to us by our televisions, you will realize that the stories and the historical record has been kept accurately by journalists around the world. But because of the news dissemination process and the news proliferation process being controlled in very few places, those news items are contained and reported once or twice in tiny little locations, whether they're on one news network or one website somewhere, even if they are establishment or mainstream sites, and then they vanish. Now, this works on the public psyche in the same way the emperor's new clothes story works on the public psyche. You walk into a room full of people, maybe you're at a party, and there's 100 people in the room, and there's one person that's naked. You see the naked person, you look around, nobody else is shocked. So you think, well, I'm not going to be the first one to make a big deal of it. I guess I shouldn't feel shocked because nobody else feels shocked. Well, that's how media deception takes place. You see a news story, like the news story that took place, interestingly enough, on Fox News Network several years ago, exposing what was the largest spying in the history of the United States. And Fox News did a 4-day piece on the Israeli spying. Yes, the Israelis were caught infiltrating virtually every aspect of our nation's high-level governmental information systems and organizations. And it was a shocking report. It even showed that very clearly the Israelis had foreknowledge of the events of 9/11. Fox News even reported that. But where did this story go? It was reported once over a 4-day period. I'm not even sure if it aired, but I do have the tapes. They're on the website. They're on other websites. Just do a Google search, but go to tvnewslies.org, sign in. It's free, and you can see those videos. But then you watch this and you say, how come this is still going on? This is the largest spying in the history of our government, and nobody in the street knows about this. Why? Because it hit one place and it was contained. That is how media deception works. No matter where it is, no matter how it gets out, one story gets out, it gets ignored. And the public looks around and says nobody else is talking about this naked person or this important story, so it must not be that important or it must not be valid. Now you can take that issue, whatever your issue is, whatever your passion is, whatever your activism is based on, whether it's saving wolves, saving the world from tyranny, or saving the environment, whatever it is, you're all in the same boat. You all have the same enemy. You have that one enemy in common, and that's the establishment media. Because that establishment media acts as a cloak to the criminals who are creating those problems and causing that injustice and lying to you. And the list goes on and on. Now, I'm not going to talk about the list here, but it's ever-growing. It's virtually every topic that you can think of. Now, again, I'll back it up. So if you're going to accuse me of not putting details to this, contact me and I'll speak for free. Just pay my way and I'll get there and I'll speak to your folks and we'll have a public forum about it. Now, a lot of people do this. When you point out a conspiracy, and this is clearly a conspiracy, when you turn around and you back up and you see everybody reporting the same thing and everybody in the country not reporting the same thing, and think about this. I'm reporting this in March. For those of you who know the March Madness, the brackets, the little betting sheets that you can put out, imagine if all your friends filled that out the same day, the same way. Pretty weird, right? What if it happened next year, and next year, and next year? That's weird. That can't happen. It's implausible. Well, that's what happens every day, every single day in the news. If you ever look at a newswire, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 stories hitting a newswire every minute of every day. Yet at the end of the day, every single establishment news organization happened to fish the same exact stories off the newswire to report, and they ignored the same stories. And they report them in the same order, with the same emphasis, with the same spin. Those stories are coded. And how those stories get around, there are little codes on them. I worked at the AP for 9 years. Someone also makes a decision whether they leave a regional wire or a local wire and get onto a regional wire or a state wire or a national wire or an international wire. Very few people are needed to control this flow of information. And there happens to be a list floating around of 42 known CIA operatives embedded in our establishment media. It doesn't take 42 people to control those news wires, by the way. It takes software.